Hello ladies and gentlemen, in this video I'm going to be telling you about why you should stop trying to book calls in your cold emails. Now this is all going to make sense as I go in the video, but just stay with me. Okay, in this document I'm going to reveal the most effective strategy for booking calls with cold email, which funny enough isn't actually asking to book a call. Okay, but it'll make sense at the end of the video. I'm going to show you guys how we can quickly establish trust, credibility, and a compelling offer to make that your prospects want to work with you. You're not even going to have to offer to book a call. They're going to ask to book a call with you. These are the same strategies that we're using to get results like this, right? As you guys can see right here, we have near perfect deliverability, a 0.5 bounce rate, which ends up being a 99.5% deliverability. We have 48 interested prospects on this email campaign, 169 interested prospects on this campaign, 99 interested prospects on this campaign, right? You guys can see this is one of our calendars where we're booking tons of meetings. This is another one of our calendars that we used to use, right? You can see that some days we were just packed back to back to back. You can see here 67 opportunities in just the span of a single month. And this is not even one of our best months, right? And another picture here, this is the one that I want to show you guys, unique positive replies. Over 10% of prospects that we sent emails to were interested, okay? And if any of you guys see that this open rate seems a little bit low, that's because we don't track open rates. I've said this in pretty much all our videos, but for those of you guys who are curious, that's why it says that. But anyways, let's just get right into the video. So the first thing that we have to discuss are awareness and commitment levels. Now, in order to understand the concepts in this document, you're going to need to understand awareness and commitment levels. Now, I've made a detailed video going over these two, and I'm going to link it somewhere in the top right over here and as well as at the bottom of this section. So if you really want to get into that, you can. I'm going to give a brief explanation below, but you guys have that as an option. Now, awareness levels measure how aware a particular prospect is about a certain problem in their life. There are 5 awareness levels that range from not aware to most aware. Now, the higher a prospect is on the awareness levels, the easier it is to sell to them. Now, obviously, if a prospect isn't even aware that a problem is in their life, it's going to be very hard to sell to them. But on the contrary, if a prospect has a problem that's bothering them 24 hours of the day, and you have a solution to that problem and it's within reason, they're going to be super interested in that solution, right? So that's what an awareness level is. Now, a commitment level, on the other hand, measures how much commitment/energy needs to be exerted in order to accept an offer. For example, if you offer to have a call with someone, that's relatively low commitment. If you offer them to have dinner halfway across the globe, that's a lot more commitment. They're going to have to exert a lot more energy, a lot more time, a lot more money, right, in order to go do that. Therefore, that is a higher commitment offer. Now, these two fundamental concepts work hand in hand, and if you understand them, you're going to be able to make offers that are more relevant and that will resonate with a prospect, okay? Now, let me use a real life example. Now, imagine your best friend comes to you and asks to borrow your car, right? He really needs it. And if you say no, you're going to ruin his life, right? Sounds pretty extreme. Now, the awareness level here is that you're very, very, very aware of what's at stake, right? This is your best friend. You don't want to tell them no. You don't want to ruin their life. You know, you deeply respect this person. You know, it's someone who is important to you, right? You are committed to helping them, very deeply committed, meaning your awareness level is very high because you don't want to ruin this person's life, so you're very aware of what's at stake. Now, the commitment level, now let's talk about that. Now, this is a very high commitment offer. You need to trust your friend with your car. He could crash it, he could scratch it, he could get it dirty, he could mess it up in a whole lot of ways. Now, you're going to start thinking, and then under the circumstances you're a half-decent human, you're going to say yes. Right? It is a high commitment offer and you're very aware of the problem and your friend is very important to you. So you're going to accept the offer and you're going to let him borrow your car because of the situation at hand. Now let's discuss scenario 2. A random person comes up to you and asks to borrow your same car. Now, he also really needs it, and he will also have his life ruined if you say no. Now, awareness levels. You're not aware of what's at stake because you're not aware of this person, you're not aware of his problems, and frankly, probably don't care. You just met the guy, right? You don't have a connection with him. You have no feelings or empathy towards this person aside from what you might feel to just a general human being. And you also don't know if he's being honest, and you also don't know why you would fulfill on an ask that big when he's done nothing for you. Now, your commitment for a person like that is a lot lower than the previous scenario. You just got the same big ask, but you aren't very aware of the problem, and you aren't very compelled to say yes and actually help that person. Now, you're going to start thinking, and you're going to think to yourself, okay, this is a high commitment offer, and you're not very aware of this person. Why should you help him? There is no reason, right? So you are inevitably going to deny his offer and not let him borrow your car, okay? Now, in the above scenarios, the exact same situation happens twice, but the only thing that changes is how awareness levels and commitment levels fluctuate, or at least it demonstrates how they fluctuate. That's the only thing that changes. And depending on who is asking you to do a favor, your response is different. Now, all of this is going to tie in to the outreach section, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit, but just stay with me. Now, if you do want to learn a little bit more about call to actions and about commitment levels and about all of that fun stuff, then you can watch this video. It's going to be right here in the document. This document is going to be one of the first links in the description, or it's going to be somewhere here on the right. Okay? But let's continue. Now, how does this apply to cold outreach? Now, you understand why exactly commitment levels and awareness levels are important. Now, let's apply those concepts to actual cold outreach and specific cold email. Okay? Now, for the sake of the examples below, I'm going to be using one of our real clients in my lead generation agency, Borgs, who does email marketing for e-commerce companies. Okay? Now, say I have a list of e-commerce companies that fit my client's ideal client profile. Now, if I want to launch a cold email campaign to go and target that list, I'm going to go and start with my scripts, because that's how, before you do everything, you need to have scripts before you can launch a campaign. Now, I'm going to need to have a call to action, right? This is going to be the action that I want people to take after they read my email. Now, this is an essential part of any email, because if you're just going to write a compelling email, but you're not going to include a call to action, a person will read it and not really be sure why you sent him the email. Like, they're not going to know what you want them to do. So you always start off with the call to action, and you need to write your email around that call to action. Now, here are some options that call to actions you could theoretically do. Now, the first one, which would be my personal favorite one if it was possible, is just buy my service. Straight up, buy my service. The next one, try my service. The third one, let's meet in person to discuss this. Fourth one, let's have a video call to discuss this. Fifth one, let's have a phone call to discuss this. Sixth one, do you mind if I send over a video explaining this? Seventh one, do you mind if I send over a document explaining this? Now, this obviously isn't an exhaustive list. You could have millions of different call to actions and millions of different variations, but just for the sake of the example, this is what I'm going to do. Now, let's go through them together. We're going to go one by one, and we're going to talk about what those really mean, okay? Now, number one is just not happening. Straight up, just not happening. This requires a prospect to exert money, time, energy, and trust, right? If you're just going to send cold emails just straight up saying, buy my product, it's just not happening. Just straight up. Number two, this is the same thing as number one, just without the commitment of money. If you're offering someone a free trial for your services, they still have to trust you, they still have to spend their time, and they still have to spend their energy. Because it's not just like you say yes, and then you automatically get onboarding to their company. No, they still have to do onboarding calls, go on your Slack, do everything that's involved. It still takes energy from them, okay? And as well, of course, as time and as well as trust. Now, the third one, which is let's meet in person to discuss this. Now, this obviously doesn't require as much time or energy as the second option or the first option, but it still does require it. In the end of the day, you have to physically go somewhere. You have to drive there, right? Maybe even spend money if it's like at a coffee shop or something. You have to buy coffee, whatever it might be. But you still have to exert time, energy, a little bit of money, and you have to trust the person. I mean, you could end up meeting a serial killer, and then, you're on the news. So obviously, that's also not an ideal option. Now, number 4, which is let's have a video call to discuss this, is really, I guess, the most you could ask for. Anything under this is what you're going to typically see in outreach. Anything over this is, maybe some people do it, but for the most part, no one is going to be running outreach campaigns as that is the call to action. Now, number 4 requires significantly less energy and time and doesn't require trust at all, because when you're on a call, someone can't murder you or something because you're on a call, right? And at that point, the only thing that you're wasting is, worst case scenario, your time and your energy, because you do physically have to be present, right? You have to, if it's a video call, you got to have video on, you got to look like a sensible human being, you got to be, actually there, mentally tapped in. Now, number 5, this is just a phone call. At this point, you don't need to be tapped in. You don't need to look good, right? You could be laying in your bed, you could be driving, you could be doing whatever while still on a call. Now, this is significantly less commitment, right? But obviously, it still is less energy, right? It still takes energy and less time because you could be doing something at the same time. But overall, relatively speaking, someone still does have to give you a portion of their day and they have to talk to you. And for those of you who aren't the most social people, you guys know you don't want to talk to anybody one extra time. And, just like you, there's a lot of people who aren't the most social. So unless they're very interested in what you have to say, they're not going to talk to you. Okay? Now, number 6, this is where it gets interesting, and this is my personal favorite one. Can I send over a video explaining this? Now, this requires a small amount of energy, a small amount of time, no trust, no money. Obviously, it doesn't cost anything to watch a video. You don't need to trust someone to watch a video, and it requires very little energy. It requires very little time because obviously you're just watching a video. You're not doing anything crazy. And last option is, do you mind if I send over a document? Now, this requires no energy, no time, no trust, no money. Literally easy. You could skim anything you like at your disposal. You could not even read the document if you want, right? So that is the worst, or I guess the lowest commitment offer. And also, in my opinion, it's not the best thing to do just because it's too easy, right? You kind of get to a point where you don't want it to be too easy, because at that point, the people who are saying yes might not necessarily be the most qualified and the most, I guess, driven to actually solve a problem. So my favorite one is number 6, and I'm going to give an example of that in a real outreach campaign down the line. Now, as you go down on the list of offers, you're going to start to notice how much less of a barrier there is to say yes. And that is the exact concept I'm trying to convey here. How, depending on your offer, your commitment level is changing. Okay? Now, commitment-aware selling is this concept, and this is the concept that we use for all of our outreach campaigns, right? I guess that phrase, commitment level selling, I don't know if it's already a thing. I made it up just out of thin air. It's probably already a term that's been, I guess, thrown around, but that's what I like to call this process. Now, this is a style of selling where you go deeper into the idea of creating an offer. You're not just making an offer based on who your ideal client profile is, but you're making an offer based on who your ideal client profile is to you, which takes it up another dimension, okay? Now, how does this apply to cold outreach? Let's actually get into the relevant information. Now, when most people do cold outreach, they offer some sort of call. Depending on the way they position it, it might be an audit, it might be a consultation, it might be a checkup, it might be a discovery call. Whatever it might be, at the core, it's a sales call. Nobody wants to go to a sales call. There is not a person in the world who just wants to go to sales calls. Nobody wants to do that. The only time people come to sales calls is when in their mind they think there is a big chance they will benefit from going to the sales call. Okay? But that's why, in most industries, asking for a call is not the best option, especially in an industry like e-commerce, where people are getting hundreds of emails per day, offering the same thing over and over and over again using the same email template, using the same script, and everything else is the same. You're never going to get results like that. And for those of you who don't know, industries like e-commerce, SaaS, the agency world, they're very saturated industries, right? It's not the same thing. If you're emailing SaaS companies, it's not the same thing as emailing biomedical manufacturing companies, right? It's a lot easier to email a biomedical manufacturing company because nobody emails them, okay? But in this particular situation, you need to keep these things in mind, okay? Now, at this point, it's not even about having solely a good offer. And that's kind of what most people teach when it comes to cold email. A lot of e-commerce marketing agencies already have offers like, we're going to increase your revenue by X% in X days, or you don't pay. We're going to make you X dollars in X days, or you don't pay. We will increase your conversion rate by X%, or you don't pay. All of those are great offers, right? But they've already heard of them so many times. But the problem here is trust, right? These companies do not believe these offers, right? And that's why offering a call is not the best option. Now, when you offer a call to a cold prospect, right, they don't know you, hence they don't trust you. They don't believe you, hence they still don't trust you. They don't know what your services can do. Like, for example, in the situation where you're trying to offer them to do something new, they don't even know the benefit. And hence they don't trust you, and so on. They just don't trust you. And if there's no trust in a B2B email, you're not getting results, okay? Now, asking a prospect, a relatively low awareness prospect, to book in a call, which is often a video call, a relatively high commitment, is most of the time not going to work, especially in an industry like e-commerce. So, what is the best solution? I'm glad you asked. This is the better solution. The better solution is to provide value upfront at no cost, which really leaves an impact on the prospect/business owner. For example, by doing something like a personalized Loom video call to action. Now let me talk about what that is. A personalized Loom video strategy is a strategy that involves contacting prospects and not even mentioning that you are trying to work with them in the first email or in the first point of contact, but just saying you found some sort of problem with their product/company and you'd like to send them over an asset or some sort of resource which can help them for completely free. And it has to be personalized. It's not a generalized asset, but it's a personalized one. You're recording one for every person who's interested. And just so we're on the same basis here, this doesn't mean if you send 1,000 emails, you have to send 1,000 videos. You're only sending it to the people who are interested. So 5% of your prospects are interested. You send 1,000 emails, that's 50 videos. And it sounds like a lot of work because it is. And you're going to make a lot of money if you do it. So that's just kind of how it is, right? It is a lot of work. It is a lot of time, but inevitably speaking, that's what's going to get you the best results. Okay. Now going back to our example from above, the email marketing for an e-commerce company. Right? Now, we're running a campaign right now targeting US-based Shopify stores doing $100K in monthly recurring revenue in the women's beauty sector with a message that looks like this. And just so we're on the same page, this is not our exact script because we're just not going to share our exact script. I don't want to ruin the angle, but this is something along the lines of it. We say something like, hey, first name, my girl is choosing out some eyeliners on your company's website. And, obviously that's a variable. And I noticed you guys had some of your email flows messed up. Small world, but I'm actually in the e-com marketing game myself. Mind if I send over some, oh my God, I can't speak. Mind if I send over a video on how you guys can fix it? Now, I'm going to read this as if I'm going to fill in the variables so you can hear how it sounds. Hey, Stephanie, my girl was choosing some eyeliners on Sephora's website, and I noticed you guys had some of your email flows messed up. Small world, but I'm actually in the e-com marketing game myself. Mind if I send over a video on how you guys can fix it? Now, first off, you might notice how extremely personalized and segmented that message is because of the fact it's meant to a direct certain audience. Now, if you're wondering how to be personalized without the use of AI, that's because we do every single lead list with segmentation. Okay. Now, I'm not going to talk about that in this video because that's a whole different subject. I did record a video about this, and I'm going to drop that video below as well as somewhere here in the bottom right or I'm sorry, in the top right. So if you are interested in getting personalized lead lists, which you should be, because, that would make your outreach so much better, then you can go watch that video. Okay? But now, let's return. Now put yourself in the shoes of the person receiving that message. Imagine you just got this email and you actually are a prospect who, fits the criteria that I just mentioned above. You find out that supposedly a potential customer found a problem with your email marketing. This would be your reaction. You'd be pretty surprised, right? You don't want to seem unprofessional, so you say, of course, yeah, send it over. I want to know. Now, you're not expecting this person to, at the end, ask for something in return, so you really feel goodwill towards their message. You just feel like they're being, a good person. Now, at this point, when the prospect inevitably responds and my client makes the video and then sends it over, the prospect watches the video and, this was going to happen now. Now they know how my client sounds and looks. Now, this is trust. The prospect is creating a human connection in their brain. Number 2, now they know my client is an authority and knows what he's talking about, right? Number 3, now they know my client's offer and case studies because we're going to include them in the video. Number 4, they know my client just helped them free of charge, and the law of reciprocity states that the person who received the video will be inclined to repay the favor. And number 5, this prospect knows that his email flows now have a problem, and my client has successfully increased their awareness levels. Now, we have a prospect in front of us who knows they have a problem, knows my client, trusts my client, and feels inclined to repay my client for what they've done. So guess what's happening next? We're going to offer a free email marketing audit where worst case scenario, you're going to get more free advice. Best case scenario, we're going to do everything for you and skyrocket your e-commerce company. And when you put it like that, the person wants to book with you. It's not a matter of you convincing them to book. They want to book. And that is a completely different frame. Okay? Now, this strategy isn't just going to be booking you more calls. It's also going to be booking you better calls. And that's because that when the prospect does show up, they're warmer, meaning they trust you more. You don't need to sell them on the importance of your service. They already know. And number 3, you don't even need to introduce yourself because they already know how you look, how you sound, and everything about your company, all of your case studies. They're coming to you ready to work with you. Okay? Now, this video has come to an end. I wouldn't be a marketer if I didn't show the next slide, so it's not over just yet. Just keep watching. Okay, now, I'm going to mention this real quick. If you guys want everything that I just talked about on a done-for-you performance basis, that is something we offer. Obviously, I mentioned I have a lead generation agency myself, Borks. That's how I make my money. That's why I make these videos. So, anyways. Now, everything I went over in this document is just the tip of the iceberg. We only really discussed on how to create a good call to action, but you still need to figure out copywriting, split testing, offer creation, offer positioning, call to actions, awareness and commitment levels, lead list, segmentation, a personal brand after initial email, and so much more. If you just want us to go and do everything, right, everything I talked about on a complete pay-per-qualified call basis, meaning you are only going to pay us when we put you on the phone, figuratively, on a video call, with a prospect that books a call and shows up, actually is a decision maker, is inside an industry that you want to service, makes enough money to work with you, meaning they physically make enough money to work with you, it's logical for them to say yes, and the prospect has desire in your service, then you can book a free outreach consultation call below. We're going to discuss your company, what outreach strategies would work for you, and just some general ideas on how you can scale. Now, since we work on a performance basis, we don't just work with anybody. We only work with companies that we're actually confident in helping. So book a free consultation call below. Worst case scenario, you're just going to get free advice. Best case scenario, we're going to book you tons of meetings. And I'll have this document in the description and the link to book the call in the description. So whatever is easier, go ahead, let's do it. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. This is a small channel, so I really do notice every single person. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching. Have a good day. Bye-bye.